Hola a todos. Hola desde Berlín. Me llamo David y soy de Colombia. Y aquí estoy con mi amigo y compañero desde Estados Unidos, David. Ah, hola David, ¿cómo estás?
Hola a todos y a todas. Hola David. Yo soy David, como dijiste, like you said. Hola desde Brooklyn. Hello from Brooklyn. Yo estoy bien. Estoy aquí con mis amigos, disfrutando el tiempo. I'm here with my friends, enjoying the weather. Y hay mucho que decir antes de que yo vaya a mi casa de Tennessee. There's much to do here before I go back to my home in Tennessee, para la duración del invierno, for the duration of the winter. Espero que yo pueda hacer todo lo que necesito hacer antes de salirme. I hope I can do everything I need to do before I leave. How are you doing, David?
It's a bit different here. But before I continue, antes de que continúe, hi everyone. I gave today's introduction in Spanish, and I know you could follow me. Your Spanish is doing great, and I'm always very happy to share my thoughts, my experiences with you in Spanish. So yeah, hi everyone from Berlin. It's dark, cold. I don't know. It's boring. Life is not easy right now in Germany with the light lockdown. I don't know what they mean by life, but life is not normal, and I hope 2021 it's gonna be a different year. Espero que el 2021 sea un año diferente. Normal again, I think. It's great to see you all greeting us from different parts of the United States and also from Inglaterra. Welcome, everyone. This is David and David. David. And we are always very happy to hear with you. We brought a very interesting topic for today. You might have already seen what we are going to talk about today. But before we move on to the topic, I just wanted to say, espero que estén bien. I hope you're doing well today, everyone. And this is related to Subjunctive. But we'll explain this later. Before we move on, we can have a short review of what we learned last week. Because you might remember that we have a very special session last week in which we learn a little bit more about a very important tradition in Latin America, mostly celebrated in Mexico, which is El Día de los Muertos. So we learned a bunch of stuff, very useful insights, a very rich description of Día de los Muertos given by Rita. So Rita is not in today. She's having a break, but yeah, we hope she's back next Tuesday. So at this celebration, El Día de los Muertos, there are some offers that Mexican families do to their relatives, friends, and pets who have died before. So we had this sentence for today. So this was your homework. David and everyone, I'm having some issues here with internet. German internet is not very good. So it can be possible that I log out and log in again. So for that reason, if that happens, sorry. So coming back to the sentence that we want to review today, we have this sentence. En las ofrendas hay fotos, comida, bebidas, y it's great to have some answers already. So it's really nice to see, yeah. Bebidas y para los muertos. Here we have a word that is very, very useful in Spanish, which is hay. I think, David, we haven't talked about hay yet.
Maybe in the very first episode when we were talking about words and expressions in Spanish that exist in Spanish but not in English, and I is a great example because it means there is or there are. So we see it in this sentence here, en las ofrendas, in the offerings. Las ofrendas being what we put, or not we, but what those who celebrate Dia de los Muertos put on the altar for their deceased loved ones. En las ofrendas there are photographs, comida, food, bebidas, beverages or drinks. And here we see many people have gotten the correct answer, and we'll show Susan. She said flores or flowers, and that is the right answer. So we have a dedication or an altar to our loved ones, our deceased loved ones, and it includes food, beverages, photos, and flowers. Para los muertos, for the dead ones, for the deceased. So great job, everyone who got that right.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that those answers, all of them were correct. So good job. Well, David, I think we are ready, estamos listos para el tema de hoy, for today's topic. And you have seen that we'll be talking about subjuntivo today. And I love this topic, and I'm sure that you also love it as well. But before we start explaining what subjuntivo is, I think a good question is to ask, okay, what have we learned so far? Everything what we've seen so far, like past tenses, present tenses, gerund, ing forms in Spanish, future, all of these belong to a word that is called indicativo. So I know we are not here to learn about these fancy names. It is more rather to say that subjuntivo and indicativo use names that are referring to something specific. So indicativo, as this name says and reads, it indicates, it shows something which is, let's say, true for everyone. But I think a good way to understand this topic is by having a look at some examples that we prepared for you today. And for that purpose, we are having a new tool. We are using like a screen in order to have a different view of the sentences. So I hope you can see the sentences. Please let us know if you encounter some problems with that, okay? So we're gonna show this screen. Yes, it's empty. So let's show here the first sentence. So here we have this sentence. Practicamos español todos los días. Easy. What does it mean? We practice Spanish every day. This can be true. We can be wrong. Maybe we don't practice Spanish every day. I mean, we should do that if we are learning a language. Practicamos español todos los días. So we can say that it's a statement. Everything is clear. And then we have this sentence, David. What is the sentence?
Ahora mis amigos están ocupadísimos right now. Ahora mis amigos, my friends, están ocupadísimos, are very busy. Same thing, we've learned the forms of estar and ser before, and we see them appear here in the third person plural form, están, they are, or you plural are, referring here to they, to them, my friends. And it's the ending that you would recognize from before, so nothing to get too confused about. And this is kind of what we've been referring to when we talk about verb conjugations. You recognize this most likely. It's nothing new, nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, so cool. Let's have a look at this sentence. Yo creo que tengo tiempo esta tarde. This is an estimation. I think that I have time this afternoon, or that I have time this afternoon. So again, here we have a bunch of sentences, it's 3, where we see normal statements. So we have someone, subject in the first sentence, that being us. We practice Spanish every day. In the second sentence, we are talking about some friends being busy. And in the third sentence, I'm just saying, I believe that I have time this afternoon. If you need my help, I'll be there. So this is indicativo in Spanish. We are indicating something that is true, that is visible to everyone. So it's very, this can be a wrong statement. As I said, I believe that I have time this afternoon. This can be something that, I don't know, it's not sure, we'll see. But it's something that I want to give you as a piece of information, just saying that I have some free time available this afternoon. So this is indicativo. Indicativo is everything what we've learned so far. Basically, indicativo is widely used in Spanish. I would say it's very hard to say an estimation, but indicativo is way more used in Spanish than subjuntivo. So in order for us to understand the difference between subjuntivo and indicativo, we are going to have 3 new sentences that we are going to show to you right now. So I hope you don't have here questions. These are normal sentences that we have already seen the past weeks. But now something new will show up here on the screen. So I'm just going through the slide again. And now we are going to start seeing some verbs, some forms that change a little bit in Spanish. So we'll start with this sentence, David. What is this?
We have, estamos aquí para que ustedes practiquen un poco más de español. So that would translate to, we are here, estamos aquí, and that is the same verb form that we've learned for estar in the nosotros, we form, first person singular, we are here, estamos aquí, nothing tricky there. Para que ustedes practiquen un poco más de español. So that, para que, you all, ustedes, practiquen, practice. And this is where you might notice there's something a little different going on with the verb ending. I'll get right back to that. But then we finish out the sentence saying un poco más de español, a bit more Spanish. So we are here seeing the verb practicar, which means to practice. And if you've ever conjugated this verb before, you've likely done it in what we'll call the indicative, which is what we're talking about, the difference between the indicative and the subjunctive. Fancy names for what we are trying to explain more simply, because it is a very difficult topic. But basically, I want you to focus on the fact that practicar has a different ending from what you might expect it to if you were going to say a sentence like, ellos practican su español cada día. They practice their Spanish every day. It looks different. The ending practican, I always get confused with the stress on the syllables, but practican versus practiquen. And there's a reason that we're seeing these different verb endings on the same verb. It's the same verb, practicar, to practice, but there's a different verb ending. And that's because practicar here is in the subjunctive mood. So that is going to confuse many of you the way I just explained that, and that is totally okay. The point that we're trying to make right now is that the same verb can actually take on different endings depending on which context you find it in. So on the screen below, you see the sentence, ustedes practican español todos los días. You all practice Spanish every day. And look at the difference in the verb endings here. You see practican versus practiquen, and we're going to dive much deeper into why that is. But the most important thing you notice is the differences in the endings here.
Yeah, that's correct. So this is the idea. We notice something which is different, and that's our first goal. So what's different, and then we'll dig deep into why this is different. But let's have a look at another example. So this is actually a paragraph altogether. Estamos aquí para que ustedes practiquen un poco más de español, porque queremos que entiendan y apliquen lo que aprenden. Yeah? So this translates to, because we want you to understand and apply what you have learned, or what you learn in the present tense. And here again, we have some verbs bolded, which have a different form because they are conjugated in a different mood. So again, this is not the usual verb ending that we saw in some other sentences so far. This is something new. And we are underlying the verbs that we are already used to when conjugating them. So estamos aquí, we are here, porque queremos algo. We are here because we want something. What is that something? Well, we want you to understand and apply what you learn. And those bolded forms are conjugated. They are a parallel word, so to say, and they are representing something different. So basically what we want to say today, we are not going to learn about conjugations. We are not going to learn about specific situations where we need the subjuntivo. We'd like to start with the main difference, what subjuntivo versus indicativo means, and then we will be prepared to learn the specifics and the rules when using subjuntivo. So, indicativo indicates something. It's a statement. It is visible to everyone. So we can say practicamos español todos los días. We practice Spanish every day. I practice German every day, I don't know, with my girlfriend, who is learning German as well. So there are many people involved in that process, and it's something real. So this is the word real. It's something real. Whereas subjuntivo, it's something that reflects on the subjective thought. So it's something that belongs to a specific person, to a specific idea. It's something that cannot be compared to anything else outside. So subjuntivo is actually the own opinion, the own idea about something. And I think the second sentence on the screen reflects that. We want you to understand and apply what you learn. In Spanish, when we want someone to do something, we have a wish, and this is something that depends on the person we are asking to do something, basically. So we don't have the power to decide to, to move this person to do something. This is what we express when using querer. And that's why in Spanish we need to express this in a different way. We cannot use here the indicativo, because that would be, first it would be wrong, because after querer, que, you use puntivo. And second, the idea is that if I want someone to do something, okay, this is something that I want, but that someone will do it or won't do it. That's it. So I pass the decision, the final action on to this person wanting to do something. That's one interpretation of subjuntivo. So subjuntivo has two functions. The first one is to express this subjective world, this own perspective of the world, so to say, as we see it here in the second sentence, porque queremos que entiendan. So we want something, and that something depends on someone else. And the second function, which is presented in the first sentence, is because of grammar and specific language reasons. So every time when we use para que, the sentence that's following is being built with subjuntivo. That's a fixed rule. So para que, this is a way for us to express a purpose of something. This is gonna be built with subjuntivo. So David, do you have some ideas on that? Because I mean, for me, this is an easy topic. I learned it. Spanish is my mother tongue, so I don't need to think a lot about what form I should use. I just, speak right away, and then the right form comes out of me. But in your case, I mean, your subjuntivo, the use of subjuntivo is great. But what are your tricks?
Okay, this I will say is perhaps the most confusing aspect of Spanish for many learners. I'm not kidding. This might be the toughest thing, the toughest element of Spanish I learned that other learners talk about all the time. So it's one of the key distinctions between Spanish as a native speaker, Spanish as a learner. So if you're confused, that is completely understandable. I would expect everyone to be confused at this point. How I will try to define or make more clear the difference between el indicativo, the indicative mood. Let's start using this word mood, because I see there's a question that Linda asked, and she says the tenses are called indicativo and subjuntivo, right? And it's actually not tense. It's this different word called mood. So of course that's going to be confusing, because even verb tenses by themselves are confusing. But I'm going to try to frame it as easily as possible. When we talk about tense, we're talking about the time aspect of when a verb happens, the temporal aspect. So we have present tense happening in the present, future tense happening in the future, past tense happening in the past. We're talking about when a verb, the action of a verb is happening relative to when we are in time right now. Mood, on the other hand, indicativo is a mood, the indicative mood, subjuntivo, the subjunctive mood. These are concepts that exist very, very little in English. So you might be completely confused when I mention the word mood, which is understandable. Mood refers more, as David was saying, to the objective or subjective reality of some sort of situation. When we talk about the indicativo, as David was saying, this is more of a statement of fact. Even if it's not objectively true, when we talk about it, it is more like the speaker of the sentence believes something to be true, or in their reality, what they believe is their objective reality, this is the truth. And that sounds really fancy the way I describe it, but this is most of the sentences that you would talk about in Spanish or in English. I do this, I want this, she is this type of person, we went to the store, we will go to the store. Many, many sentences in Spanish don't even touch the subjunctive mood because we're just stating some sort of fact, some sort of reality that to us is, and there is no other way. Subjunctive mood is the sort of the opposite or the complement to indicative, and it represents, as David was saying, some sort of more subjective reality that maybe we want to be real, or maybe we expect to be real, but we can't for certain say that it's real right now. So if I want David, my friend David, to do something, the way we'd construct that in Spanish, as you see in the second sentence here, is yo quiero, or nosotros queremos, I want, we want, that someone does something. So let's say, yo quiero que tú comas ese pastel. So I want that, que, remember that magic word que we talked about, which means that in Spanish. You're going to see this all the time when we talk about the subjunctive, because it sets up this sort of subjective reality that we're talking about. My wanting something is objective. You know, I want this, I want that. No need for the subjunctive mood. It's all indicativo. I want friendship. I want love. I want safety. Those are all statements of fact according to my objective reality. But if I want David to eat this piece of cake, yo quiero que David coma ese pastel, that he eats the cake is not yet an objective reality. It's something that I want, but it hasn't manifested as a real world scenario yet, even though it's in my mind as something that I want to happen, that he eats the cake. That he eats the cake has not yet become an objective reality. For that reason, we're going to use el subjuntivo. I want that he eats the cake. I doubt that he is my friend. Yo dudo, I doubt, que, that, él, he, sea, is, in the subjunctive mood, and we'll get back to these conjugations another time, but yo dudo que él sea mi amigo. I doubt that he is my friend. And so the idea that he is my friend is in doubt. We're not sure about it. It's something that I can't say for certain, according to my understanding of the world. That he is my friend is up in the air. It's the subjective sort of reality. It's not an objective reality. And for that reason, we use the subjunctive mood within this little embedded clause, que él sea mi amigo, that he is my friend. And that's how we convey that something has not yet manifested in an objective reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, David, I'll pass it off to you because I've been talking for so long. But I hope that makes it a little bit clearer what we're trying to get at before we even dive into the nuances of how you conjugate verbs in the subjunctive mood, or what sorts of context you'll find them in. I'm trying to set up the idea that we're talking about statements of fact in the indicative mood versus less clear subjective realities that maybe we want to be true, or we expect to be true, or we doubt to be true, but that aren't real here in the real world with us.
Yeah, I think that was great, David. This is always difficult, as we'll be learning also in the next weeks. Subjuntivo has lots of functions. I mean, different situations where we need it. I think Lee is framing this also in a very accurate way. Subjuntivo is for uncertainty, while indicativo is more certain. Yes, this is one of the main functions. This is also one way to describe the difference between indicativo and subjuntivo. Subjuntivo refers to something that might not be real, that might not be true, that might not be certain, might not be sure. So we'll see. Whereas indicativo is always stating a fact. So it is true, it is wrong, it will be true. But I think the easiest way to recognize these differences is by looking at more sentences, examples, situations, and we know that this is not going to be something that we learn in 30 minutes. This is something that we'll be reviewing very, very often. So I think we can skip to this question, this sentence actually, exclamation. Because I think you have already seen it before, or you have already heard about it. Que tengas un buen día. This is something that we say a lot in Spanish. Que tengas un buen día. When we are addressing a friend, a person, and we are using the to form. So we are being here very informal. May you have a good day, or just simply have a good day. In this case, we are wishing something, which is a good day. The verb wish, desear, in Spanish is not there. Just because it's enough to extract this information from the use of subjuntivo in this sentence. So subjuntivo is being bolded here, tengas. This is the subjuntivo form in the present tense for tú. Que tú tengas un buen día. So this is a wish. I wish you with all of my heart that you have a good day. That's what's behind this sentence. So of course this is a wish, and we don't know whether this is going to be true or not. So that's why we are using here subjuntivo, and this is something that we use when we are wishing something in Spanish. Deseamos or deseo que. Again, here our magical word that we've been learning for a couple of weeks. Deseo que something happens. Deseo que algo suceda. And suceda is there expressed with subjuntivo. But again, our idea is that we see the difference first between indicativo and subjuntivo, and then we learn the forms of the verb.
I think the next slide, David, has a good contrast of examples. Is that, do you think it's time to show?
I think we are going back to our traditional method of
that's right.
sentences, because I think we can show these two sentences. Mm-hmm. So maybe, let's have a look here at this sentence. Hoy yo salgo temprano del trabajo. David.
Hoy, today, yo salgo, leave, temprano, early, del trabajo, from work. This is a sentence that we see in the indicative mood. We're not trying to express a desire or something that we maybe want to be true, but isn't necessarily true. We're stating a fact. Today, I leave early from work. O cada día yo salgo temprano del trabajo. Every day, I leave early from work. Or ayer yo salí temprano del trabajo. Yesterday, I left early from work. These are all statements of fact. We're not even getting into the zone where this might not be true, an objective reality, where it is in our minds when we are saying it, this is the truth. This is what is real to us. Hoy yo salgo temprano del trabajo. Today, I leave early from work. So let's take that verb salir, conjugated in the first person singular form, yo salgo, and let's see what happens when we put it in another context. The same conjugational form, so it'll be the first person singular yo again, but we're going to put it in a different sentence that requires the use of the subjuntivo, the subjunctive mood, and we'll see how it changes a little bit. Pero no creo, but I do not believe that a very important word, que, yo salga, not salgo, yo salga temprano mañana. But I don't believe, pero no creo, que yo salga temprano mañana. So you see the difference between the first sentence, yo salgo, a statement of fact, I leave. In this sentence, we see yo salga. And why is that? Because take a look at the first part of the sentence. Pero no creo, I don't believe that I leave early tomorrow. So when we see this phrase no creo, that means I don't believe, or maybe we can interpret it as I doubt or I don't think. No pienso, yo dudo que, no pienso que, no creo que. This reality of my leaving tomorrow, in this case, is not guaranteed. It's not true to us. It's not 100% certain because I don't believe it. That I leave tomorrow is not certain. It's not objectively true. And so for that reason, within this embedded clause, que yo salga temprano mañana, we're going to use the subjunctive mood. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. And I hope that being able to see salgo in the indicative versus salga in the subjunctive kind of gets your brain moving a little bit, thinking, okay, why is one being used in one context, but the same exact verb in the same form, the yo form, has a different ending. It's slightly different in a different context. So this is something that we will be touching on in future episodes, as well as what these verb endings are, how to form them. There's a lot to unpack here, but this was supposed to be an introduction to what the subjuntivo even is. And I know you're going to have lots of questions. I hope that we can try to answer some of them either today or in the future episodes. I wanted to show that contrast between the forms of salir, just so you could kind of get thinking, okay, just because I know how to conjugate a verb one way in the indicative mood doesn't mean that conjugation applies in every sentence, but we're going to learn in which sentences you'll want to use the subjunctive as well. So let's see if we have, do we have any more to present, David, or do we want to start answering some questions?
I think that's it for today. We don't want to overflow this session with lots of sentences. Today it's about an introduction. And I like here something that posted, which is very useful in Spanish. Some people can't separate opinion or hope from fact. It sounds interesting because this is something that we do in Spanish without thinking that much of the differences that we always express through the use of indicativo or subjuntivo. So I think that doesn't even happen to Spanish speakers. It is just that we use the language the way we were taught. And by learning this actively, by being aware of this while learning Spanish, it becomes a bit tricky. This is a matter of practice, and you will learn a lot about how to make the difference between facts that we express by using indicativo in Spanish and personal opinions, personal thoughts, personal doubts, personal the own perspective of the world, because this is just all reflecting your you as a subject, basically. So that's where subjuntivo, the word subjuntivo, sujeto, comes from. This is just a way for us in Spanish to express what subject, what a person is meaning.
So Wendy asked a question that I was trying to think of some examples to help address what we're talking about, and it fits into Wendy's question. She says, are there other moods besides these two? We talked about the indicative mood and subjunctive mood. Those are the two she's referring to. And there is one third mood that we actually did learn about in a previous episode called the imperative mood. And it's also known as commands. So we talked a little bit about giving commands before. If you want to tell someone to do something in Spanish, you are going to be using the imperative mood. So let's think about a few examples in English. if I say in the imperative mood, in English, clean the house, that's a command. I want you to clean the house. So I'm telling you, clean the house. That is different from the subjunctive mood, which would be something like, I hope that you clean the house. I desire that you clean the house. It would make me happy if you clean the house. I want you to clean the house. That is the subjunctive mood, because your cleaning the house is not an objective reality. Just because I hope for it or I want it doesn't mean that it will happen. Mm-hmm. That is, those two are different. So the imperative, clean the house, the subjunctive, I hope that you clean the house, those are both different from the indicative, which is something like, you clean the house every week. It's a statement of fact. Whether or not I want it to be true, it is true. I'm telling you that you clean the house every week. It's not a command, it's just a statement. Or you clean the house today, or you clean the house when you are home, something like that. So I hope that sets up the difference among the three. Usually subjunctive and indicative mood are kind of paired together because they are a little bit more complementary or more opposites. I tend to think of them that way, and then the imperative kind of sits on its own as its own thing. But they are all considered moods in Spanish, and it's important to learn when you use which one.
Mm-hmm. We also have conditional, just to express things like, I would do this. I would clean the house, if I had time, for example. Yo limpiaría la casa. This is also another mood. And this is related also to Rita's question, but what does mood mean? So remember, we have past, present, and future tenses that are telling us when something is happening. The mood is indicating how something happened. So is this a fact? Is this a command? Is this a dream that we would express with conditional? That's the function of the mood. So we can think of a table where we have column, which are the moods, and rows, which are the tenses. So we can have a command only in the present tense, because this is something that we can apply in the present tense. So we cannot express a command in the past tense. It's impossible to change something in the past. But we can have subjuntivo with present tense or with past tenses. The good part of subjuntivo is that subjuntivo doesn't have future. It's already enough with subjuntivo to express wishes, doubts, all what that's uncertain in the language. So that's why we don't need subjuntivo futuro, and that's the way we can see it. I would say, don't get too confused. Our main idea is that we start to identify the differences between what's real, what is subjective, what is the own opinion, what is a fact, and this is our purpose for today. I'd like to point out here that Dana is right. So Dana, don't throw away your rules, what you learn, because what you wrote here is right as well. So we'll learn more about when to use subjuntivo and why subjuntivo is needed in certain situations. But if I say, quiero que aprendan español, or queremos que aprendan español, I'm saying in English, David and I want you to learn Spanish. So of course we have two different subjects in both sentences. David and I have a wish, we want something, and that's that you learn Spanish. So that's why we need subjuntivo. But if it's about all of us learning Spanish, it can be also expressed by saying queremos aprender español, and that means we all want to learn Spanish. So this is one of the differences when using just subjuntivo or the infinitive form. So we'll see these in the next weeks, but you are right, so don't think you learn it wrong, because that's not the case.
Jerry's question is a great one. I wish that you would clean the room. Would that be subjuntivo? So yes, we can have the subjuntivo referring to the past as well. Just like you can say, I want you to clean the room. You could say, I wanted you to clean the room in the past. Maybe you did it, maybe you didn't do it, but I wanted you to do it. Or I hoped that you passed the test. You didn't pass, but I hoped that you passed. That would still be subjuntivo when we're talking about something that at the time when I was hoping, when I was wanting, when I was doubting that you passed the test, we weren't sure what the reality would be, or I doubted that you cleaned the room. Yo dudaba que tú limpiarás. Oh my gosh, David, what would it be? Yeah, so the conjugations get really kind of technical and tricky, but this tense and the past tense plus the subjunctive mood do exist in Spanish, and it's something that you would get with Jerry's example right here. I wished that you would clean the room. Yo quería que tú comiera el pastel. I wanted you to eat the cake. No lo comiste, you didn't eat it. Statement of fact, we know that guaranteed you didn't eat it, but at the time, yo quería, I wanted que that tú comieras, that you ate or that you eat in the past subjunctive, the cake. So we don't have to get into that even more because it is one of the trickiest. The subjunctive, the past subjunctive is advanced level Spanish. And you probably can find other ways to get around it if you don't know it when you're speaking Spanish. So it's not extremely important to learn right now, but we want you to know that it does exist. And so many of the tenses you learn in Spanish, past, present, they have indicative mood forms. They have subjunctive mood forms too. So that can be a little tricky, but try to think of it in English as Jerry said here, and it might make a little bit more sense to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this question is also related to Linda's one. I hope that you clean the house versus I hope that you will clean the house. So in Spanish, we would say espero que, I hope that, espero que you clean the house, que limpies, que tú limpies la casa. Both sentences are translated in Spanish the same. Espero que limpies la casa. There is no future subjuntivo in Spanish. Why is that? Because it's already enough if we say, I hope that, espero que. If we change the sentence, the tense of that sentence, and we said something like, I hoped that you had cleaned the house, then there is going to be a change. Because that I hope that, which is the core of the whole sentence, is indicating me it's something that we can change right now because it's the present tense, or is it something referring to an action in the past that we can change? So that's very important when using subjuntivo in Spanish. But again, more details will come soon. We just, our main idea today is that we kind of connect what we learned in the previous weeks, because we were learning que to introduce new sentences, and this is the reason why we were doing that, just because we need that for subjuntivo in many cases. So yes, Mike, I think Peggy also answer to that. This is common in Romance languages, like French, Italian, Portuguese as well, with the only exception of Spanish using it more often. So subjuntivo is more used in Spanish than in Italian. And the same happens also in French. So while when I was learning Italian and French, I had, of course, an easier approach because we have subjuntivo in Spanish. But I understand, I mean, I know how it feels to learn the subjuntivo in a different language, even though French is very similar to Spanish. just because subjuntivo works in a slightly different way in French and in Italian and in Portuguese than in Spanish. But we have clear rules defined in Spanish, and we'll be learning them very, very soon.
So one thing I wanted to mention, well, two things actually. So the first is I see a lot of us in the comments typing out subjuntivo and spelling it a little bit wrong. So I'm going to display, it's confusing because the word subjunctive in English has the letter C in it. But in Spanish, we actually don't include the C, we say subjuntivo. So I wrote that here for you to see. Just important that we catch that before we get too deep into talking about el subjuntivo. That was a mistake I made so much as I was learning Spanish. But keep in mind that the way you see subjuntivo spelled right here is how it is spelled in Spanish. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that if it helps you think of an English parallel, the subjuntivo actually very minimally does exist in very antiquated English. So if you say something like, may you always be happy, we wouldn't, in the indicative mood, we would say you always are happy or you are always happy. But when we say, may you always be happy, we find ourselves using the subjunctive form. We wouldn't say, may you always are happy. We're using a different form of the verb be. In this case, it's just be, may you be happy. But it's expressing some sort of emotion, some sort of wish or desire. I want you to be happy. I hope that you're happy. May you be happy. But it's not a guarantee. Just because I say it doesn't make it true. It's something that I desire for you. May you be happy. But it is not an objective reality that you are happy. So that, to me, is a pretty clear way to see the distinction between the two. But as you know, we don't really have it in a lot of other forms in English. Otherwise, this wouldn't be so hard to learn because it is pretty tricky. David, do you think that made it a little more clear?
I think when we say in English, if I were you, I would do that. It's exactly the same in Spanish. If I were you, that's subjunctive.
Yeah.
This is also one of the last bites of subjunctive in English, because you've killed subjunctive in the English language by using it less and less and less. But if we want to express the same idea in Spanish, we would need both subjunctive and the conditional mode, exactly as it is in English. If I were you, that's subjuntivo, I would do it. That's conditional. So there we have an example of two different moods being used in a singular sentence.
Except,
so,
what about David? An example like, como es como si fuera. It's como si él fuera mi amigo. It's as if he were my friend. And you're setting up, this might be the one exception, using the expression como si, as if, to set up a reality that isn't true. Obviously, if we're saying as if something were the case, it's not, but as if it were, then maybe then you would also follow with the conditional, then this would be the case, then I would do this, then he would be my friend. But what about the sentence, it is es como si tú tuvieras something. It's as if you had respeto para mí. It's as if you had respect for me. What about, does that always require the conditional with?
Yeah, como si, yes, that's always requiring subjunctivo, because we are referring to a word that is not real. So we are just making it up for the situation. That's why we need subjunctivo in that case. Como si. But we'll see also specific words that require subjunctivo in the future, as we saw it also with para que, when we are expressing a purpose.
Antes de que.
Antes de que, and después de que, hasta que. So we recognize a pattern there. Que is very often requiring subjunctivo, but we'll see when. it's needed. I'd like to say a few words about this before we say goodbye. Yes, Phyllis, we do have a conjugation form of future tense for subjuntivo. But the good news is that Spanish speakers are killing at least this tense in subjuntivo. So we don't use it. We never use it. Like when we see how a verb is conjugated in the subjunctive future, subjuntivo futuro in Spanish, we laugh at it because no one uses it. But yeah, of course, there is a form.
Yeah, imagine in English, we kind of do the same thing. So you could say, I want you to go to the grocery store. Yo quiero que tú vayas al supermercado. In the future, we could say something like, if it refers to the future, I will want you to go to the grocery store. I will want that you go to the grocery store is how we'd express it in Spanish. It's a little bit different construction. Pero yo querré, I will want that que tú vayas, still the present tense in the subjuntivo. Yo querré que tú vayas al supermercado a las 8 at 8 p.m. So we're expressing that we will want something in the future, or yo desearé, I will desire that tú vayas, that you go to the grocery store. But we don't need to actually put that subjuntivo, the go form, in the future subjunctive. That's just going farther than we need to.
Yeah, it's a little bit simpler in some cases. But yeah, this is the good news. So, David, this got too long, but it's a fascinating topic, and I think it was a good idea to talk about the difference between indicativo and subjuntivo before moving on to the specific situations where subjuntivo is needed. So I would invite you all to tune in next time because we learn more about subjuntivo.
Thank you for sticking with us through this very difficult topic. I hope that we turned a little bit of a corner and started to grasp the difference between indicativo and subjuntivo so that we can hit the ground running in a future episode. Although I'm sure you'll have many questions and we'll be happy to answer them too in the future. This, like I said, is among the most confusing topics for non-Spanish speakers, especially English speakers, to learn about Spanish. So we're very happy to guide you along in your journey learning Spanish, the subjuntivo, and all of the nuances that come with it. For now, we should say goodbye because this is maybe our longest episode ever, which doesn't surprise me. But I will say thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to come back next week, same time, same place, this Facebook page, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have a new topic probably around the subjuntivo to present to you. You can, in the meantime, follow us on social media at BabbelUSA on Twitter, Facebook here where you are, Instagram, TikTok. Find us on YouTube at BabbelUSA. Find us at Babbel Magazine, great resource for language learning. We'll post the links here. And on Quora, I help moderate the Everything Language space. So lots of great resources there as well. I think that is all we wanted to say. David, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think it was perfect. Stay healthy. It's very important. And we are already looking forward to next Tuesday. Que tengan un buen día. Have a great day.
Adiós.
Adiós.